Now, my non-black and white sisters, y'all can stay, behave. This conversation, though, I want to talk to my sisters real quick, all right? Let's bring it in. Let's talk, because the conversation I'm seeing around Ashley and Marissa from season 7, Love is Blind, we need to have an in-group, in-community conversation. Let's talk. Aloha, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome back. If we've been locked in, my name is Sasha, and I just need to get this off my chest, because literally I watched the season finale of Love is Blind. I thought it was a great episode, and then I hop online and the commentary I'm seeing, especially from my skin folk, from the women who look like me, it's really concerning, and I just want to know how we get here, and like how we got here. Now, when I say I thought it was a great episode, the weddings were great. The first scene in the episode with Ramses and Marissa broke my heart. Hearing her break down like that showed so much vulnerability in that moment. Someone she thought she was going to spend the rest of her life with, breaking up with her when just 2 days prior, he was so sure. They're making all these plans for their wedding, etc., etc. That was such a heartbreaking scene to watch. And if you have ever been through a breakup or heartache, you recognize that cry Marissa cried, and it just got to your gut. And only someone lacking in empathy could watch her break down like that and proceed to blame her, make fun of her, dismiss her emotions. But turns out that's exactly what was happening based on some of the conversations that I've seen on these East Streets. And disappointingly, more disappointingly than anything, that kind of commentary was coming from people who looked like me, who looked like Marissa. And I think there's a lot, there's levels to this, there are layers to this, and that's kind of what I want to talk about in this video today, because there are a lot of Marissas and a lot of Ashleys judging Marissa and Ashley's, and I think that it bears a bigger conversation, because this is bigger than Love is Blind. This is how some of us show up in our relationships and our friendships, and how we treat one another, how we judge one another, which is why it is so hard for Black women to be soft, to be vulnerable, to show our sensitive side. This season of Love is Blind, before I even watched, I didn't even know if I was going to, because I'm so tired of watching Black women get treated horribly on these dating shows, reality TV in general, but especially on these shows. But when I saw 4 Black women, beautiful Black women, were gonna be on this season in my stomping grounds, I was like, I gotta watch it, I gotta watch it. And so we saw Monica, Alexandra, Ashley, and Marissa hopefully find a chance at love, and all of them brought such dynamic, vibrant, different personalities that were all lovable in their own way. And how we responded to each and every single one of them was very different, despite the fact that nearly all of the men in that equation were very problematic. And I think it goes to show that despite the ways we say we want to dismantle the patriarchy, any single time a man exhibits any type of bad behavior or is just a terrible person, it is always the women who are getting the blame for it. We blame women for men's bad behavior. But on top of the fact that we blame women for men's bad behavior, a lot of people will get online and judge these women as if they have never been in that situation where they have enabled a man's bad behavior. They have stood by a man's side, be it their boyfriend or their partners, in the face of absolute wrongdoing on their behalf. So that's why I said there are a lot of Marissas judging Marissa. There are a lot of Ashleys judging Ashley. And I understand that a lot of people are judging them harshly because of their dislike of Tyler and Ramses. But why not keep that dislike focused on them? Why are Ashley and Marissa catching strays on behalf of Ramses and Tyler? It makes no sense whatsoever. Especially when it comes to Ashley, considering that we are watching this in real time in September and October of 2024. We are watching this and finding out information in real time. However, this show was filmed in August, September, October, and November of last year. And Ashley made a decision based off of the information she had at the time. So there doesn't seem to be any discernment, grace, or understanding for that simple fact. We see Tim and Alexandra break off their engagement, and people are just ready to run with all the ways in which she is a horrible person. Baby girl took a nap. God forbid it. Listen, Snow Babe, we couldn't be together because I'd be taking naps left and right, okay? If a nap is going to be the deal breaker to any of y'all's relationship, then I hope y'all are some serious 8 to 9 hours of sleep warriors and y'all never need naps, because as for me, I'm going to take a nap. I should be actually napping right now, but I'm filming this, so... And then we see Monica and Oluwasefin's situation fall apart. And in that moment of her relationship and her engagement breaking down, she got a lot of praise for people. And as I'm thinking about it, the reason why she got so much praise from people is because instead of her to show any type of vulnerability or softness or great emotion, at least she reserved that for when Taylor and Garrett came over to console her. But in that moment, she reacted. She just immediately shut down, went into defense. She just immediately shut down and was like, I need you to send me the money that I spent on you while you were living here. And everybody was like, yes, queen, boss up, boss up. We love it. We love it. But she just broke off an engagement with someone she thought she was going to marry. And her instant reaction, would people have been as, yes, queen, boss up, if she had expressed emotion, if she had broken down, if she had cried? People wouldn't have been as, yes, queen. It's almost like we are celebrating the loss of what they perceived to be love. And we want to see that. And we think it's a yes moment instead of a moment of deep sadness. And I think we may not have reacted really as strongly, even if she had broken down, instead of like, being like, immediately Venmo me, which by the way, if she doesn't have a Venmo sponsorship or partnership, Venmo, y'all need to hop on that, because that was a moment right there. That was, I honestly feel like in this year, we haven't had good reality TV this year. And I think that will be a highlight of reality TV in 2024. But as we are watching reality TV, I think we also need to understand that this is their real life. And these people thought that they were going to marry this person, for better or for worse, regardless of whatever your thoughts are about the show, like, oh, I can never marry somebody only 42 days after meeting them. Well, that's you. Some people, they go on the show, they are there for the experiment, and it works for some people, it doesn't work for other people. But obviously Monica wanted that to work with Oluwasefi, and she was very sad about it. But in that moment, instead of showing softness, instead of showing vulnerability, she instead bossed up and was like, give me my money. A lot of people would say she stood on business. But if she didn't, if she cried, would people have been as yes queen? Would people have been as sympathetic and empathetic to her, or have elevated her to queen status? No. And the reason why I'm bringing up softness and vulnerability is because as Black women, we talk so much about wanting to be in our feminine, wanting to be in our feminine energy, wanting somebody who's going to take care of us, wanting to be soft, wanting to be vulnerable. I don't want to be a ride or die. I want to just rest in my femininity. And part of that is being vulnerable and showing up in your relationships. But it seems like every single time Black women show up in a highly visible space, be it online or on social media, and display any level of emotion or softness, particularly around men and their relationships, it's like they are immediately ripped to shreds and torn apart. And we see this happen with nearly every single Black woman on the show. It happened a lot last season with AD and Clay in Love is Blind, and now we are seeing it this season. Now that I'm thinking about it with Alexandra, when Tim broke off her engagement, I saw a lot of people also cheering her on, because it's like, yes, girl, eat that plate of food. Like, that looked like a good plate of food. But again, in a moment of shock and, oh my gosh, her engagement is being broken off, if she had cried, would people have elevated her the same way? If she had showed the same softness, would people have elevated her the same way? Or would they have ripped her to shreds like certain people are doing to Marissa? And it is very disturbing to me that to hop on the internet and see, we just watched this woman break down and cry because she thought she was getting married to the love of her life, and she was completely blindsided by this, the same way Monica was blindsided and was showed empathy and love and grace and adulation, the same way Alexandra was blindsided by Tim and was shown empathy, love, adulation. We were quick to put both of them on a pedestal for their lack of emotion. But when a Black woman shows the same softness and level of emotion, well, I think Marissa is biracial. I haven't heard her refer to herself as Black, but people have been referring to her as Black. So I want to leave room and respect and grace for the fact that she may or may not identify as Black, but she is being presented to us as Black. So a Black woman is showing a level of emotion, and we are ripping her apart. People are telling her she's weak in the knees. Marissa, stand up. This is embarrassing. I can never cry over a man. This, to you, he was just a man. And again, I understand that people really did not like Ramses. But to her, that was her fiance. That was the person she was going to spend the rest of her life with. And being blindsided in that manner gutted her. And I don't understand how anybody could watch that episode and watch that scene especially and watch her break down and regard her with anything but empathy. I think it goes to show how some of us, A, don't know what we want, but also B, the internet can be a very cruel place. It could be a very hostile place, and people are saying things for obviously likes, clicks, views, and shares. You know, everybody wants to be the most liked comment, but you are talking about people and their real lives. And one of the most heartbreaking moments of her life is shown on TV, and then she has to hop online and see people debasing her for showing emotions, and not just people, but women who look like her, people from her own community, debasing her, dismissing her, putting her down for showing any level of vulnerability and softness. The same softness we say we want to be able to express, that we don't always want to be hard as Black women, or we don't want to be viewed as strong all the time. It's just hypocritical, and it makes zero sense. Marissa actually spoke about it on her TikTok, and this is what she had to say in response to a lot of the backlash she was receiving for being vulnerable in that moment and crying. Because that is where we are as a society, that somebody shares the most devastating thing to happen in their life, and they hop online and see that only to see that they are on the receiving end of backlash and criticism for crying. So this is what Marissa had to say.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert for Love is Blind season 7 finale that came out today. If you have not seen it and you still want to see it and you don't want to be spoiled, keep on scrolling. I'll give you a second. Go ahead and scroll. If you're still here, you're gonna get spoilers, and I don't be up in my comments about it or DMs. Okay, something I wanted to address that I am seeing like some discourse online about like just going through a breakup and begging someone to stay with you. It's very interesting because it made me really think about like what our dating culture is like today, where when someone in a relationship is expressing doubt or is unsure about something, they either bring it to the partner and the partner goes, okay, like cool, if you don't know if you want to be with me, bye. And there's that, or you have the person who's feeling the doubts is unsure, talks to other people about it, maybe works through it and is solid in the relationship and everything's fine. There's just different scenarios. Regardless, what I'm trying to say is, what did y'all expect from me? Or from anyone who is in this situation, or anyone going through a breakup. When you say you're committed to someone, you want to marry them and you love them and it's unconditional, when they come to you, when your partner comes to you with doubts or confusion, what do? Just high five the man and walk away? Or do I sit there and say, well, what's going on? Let's talk about this. You weren't feeling this way yesterday. What's going on? That is not begging someone to stay with them. Asking someone, are you sure, is not begging them to stay. It's saying, are you sure that you feel confident in the decision, or is it something you want to sleep on? It is not a begging. And if you think it is, I can't change your mind, but I just think it's fascinating because in today's society, we're always talking about I want someone to commit. I want someone to be there for me. I want you to be my confidant, my ride and die. But then when you see someone doing that, people are really quick to judge and say I would never. Well, one, would you ever go on TV and put your life, out like I did and be vulnerable? A lot of people wouldn't do that. And it's a hard thing. And not everything was perfect, not everything was pretty, and I wasn't perfect, and I have room to grow and things like that. But at the end of the day, I just think it's important to keep in mind, if you're single and you're out there, you're trying to date, you don't have to beg someone to be with you. If they're telling you the words, I don't want to be with you, you gotta listen to what they're saying. But if you're with somebody who you love and they're coming to you with some doubts and confusions and they don't want to make a rash decision, I think it's completely fair to talk to them and try to reason with them. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe a psychologist would tell me I'm freaking wrong, but that is my 2 cents on that. And so yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the rest of the season and saw the beautiful weddings, and yeah, stay tuned.
I really love this video because I could not agree with it more myself. I've said it a million times, but I think I need to say it 1,000,001 times because it doesn't seem to be something that people are processing and understanding. This is somebody she thought she was going to marry just 2 days ago, was saying, oh, I'm so sure, I can't wait for this. They're filling out marriage licenses, they're in the jacuzzi, they're planning special little moments for their wedding with the parents, the gift that he was going to get her mom, etc., etc. And then he has one conversation with somebody else, and it blows up into this situation that completely blindsided her. And she's like, if y'all regard having a conversation with my partner as, are they sure they want to break off this engagement, if seeking clarity and confirmation is begging, then everybody who is judging her, anybody who's been in a relationship and it has ended a certain way, everybody then is guilty of some level of begging. So is it begging or is it seeking clarity? And what is the difference? Like, I wonder what way could Marissa have shown up on the screen that would have had people satisfied? And did you just want her to, because it seems like what people visualize themselves doing, which is what we know is far from the truth, because all of y'all have cried. If you are a hetero woman dating a hetero man, married to a hetero man, have had a relationship with a hetero man, you have cried over somebody's dusty son, okay? We are all like at different places of our elevation and our life journey and what we are willing to tolerate and what we are not willing to tolerate. But at a certain point, you have cried over somebody's dusty son. So it's like a lot of Marissas judging Marissas, a lot of Ashley judging Ashleys, because as much as y'all want to think you would pull a Monica and stand on business, no, that's not the reality, especially if you are so close to being with this person forever and saying you're going to marry them. And this is why I think even Monica's reaction, she didn't make it that far with Oluwaseun. I think if they had been in this for a few more weeks and he had done the same thing, would she have reacted the same way? Maybe or maybe not. We won't know, but it was very easy for her to step away from that relationship because they hadn't invested as much time in each other. They weren't in the process of planning a wedding the same way Marissa was with Ramses. And so it's very easy to put Monica up on a pedestal and visualize yourself walking away and stepping away from a relationship with someone. And it's very easy to do that if you don't have a lot of time, energy, and emotion invested in that person. The only thing Monica had invested at that moment was money. And she was like, give me my money. Like, she was like, give me my freaking money. And even still, if you watch the episodes, you would know that at the flapper party, she said, oh yeah, her and Steven talked. So it's not like it was a clean, cut and dry, give me my money and get out of here. They ended up talking again and they ended things on better terms, as what Monica said. So it seems like y'all, you want other people to stand on business in a way you probably A, can't, and B, have never done in your own life. And I really applaud Marissa for making that video and not responding in a reactive manner to the things that people are saying, you know, not feeding the rage and the judgment and the condescending and the dismissing her not feeding that cycle with her own condescension, with her own rage, with her own dismissal, but instead being a light, just showing up in her fullest capacity and just being herself and responding to it in a fair and balanced way, not letting people's criticism get to her. I thought her response was beautiful, and I think it sucks that she had to even come out and say something because she was on the receiving end of so much backlash from people for simply expressing emotion. And that's in part, we wonder why we are in a loneliness epidemic. We wonder why people are struggling to have fulfilling relationships, because people cannot be vulnerable. You cannot be soft. You cannot let your guard down around people. It's like this cycle of not allowing yourself to get close to someone lest they hurt you. So being the one to dismiss and step away from the relationship before they can hurt you, or dismiss and step away from the relationship. And so now we are in this place where people are struggling with emotional intelligence, are struggling with empathy, because how are you able to display and express what you yourself have never felt or been able to give? How? And I touched a little bit upon Ashley, so I won't really go into her in this video, because I think a lot of people they've been dragging her for weeks now. And she married Tyler. I think we all knew she was going to marry Tyler. I didn't think that was new information. I think Marissa and Ramses kind of blindsided people more than Ashley and Tyler getting married blindsided people. But even with that conversation, people are calling Ashley all types of pick-me, again, making her more responsible, or just as responsible for the behavior of a man and his actions before she was even with him, and saying, oh, how could she stay with him knowing this? Again, she made a commitment to someone not having all of the information. She made that commitment and that decision based off the information that was available to her at the time, which is what most rational adults do. And you know what the gag is? Like I said, I don't even want to say a lot of Ashley judging Ashleys, because Ashley didn't have the information, all of the information out the gate. A lot of y'all actually have this information out the gate and still stand by your man, still stand by your boyfriend, still stand by your husband. So again, how can you be sitting here being judgmental of somebody who is engaging in the same behaviors you have engaged in? And also, I did touch on this in my previous video, but I wanted to add a little bit to it now that I'm caught up on the story time with Ricky and Jessie Woo interview with Deshawn. Bry's, oh my goodness, this is so convoluted. There's so many levels to this. Tyler's baby's mama, Tyler's children's mother, her name is Bry. And Bry and Tyler had these children, and the way Bry set it up to Deshawn, her wife at the time, was a complete lie. So it's like, people aren't even getting the full information. People were really ready to run with Bry's story, and then Deshawn comes out. Now people realize, oh, wait a minute, certain aspects of Bry's story were also a lie. So it's like everybody is like judging and coming at Ashley with this behavior and information that is not even 100% true. So it's like, what is the truth? You know, I've always felt about that situation, and this is why I don't, you have to be so discerning of what you read, and even more discerning of what you see and hear from social media, because watching that situation, when I watched Bry's initial story, I was like, something about this seems off to me, so I'm going to just sit and wait on it. And sure enough, Deshawn comes out not even 48 hours later with the actual whole story. Meanwhile, Bry was positioning herself to be the victim, when the only victims in this situation are Ashley and those 3 children. And we only know anything about it because one of those adults, her mother, took it upon herself to blast all of this onto the internet. And who asked for this? Nobody at all. But this woman, the grandmother, blasts this all over the internet, does not bother to blur these children's faces, and now all of their business is out there. And somehow all of this is on Ashley's plate, even though she is a victim in all of this as well. And it's always like killed me, the comfort and the ease with which people slide into people's comments and just leave like real hateful shit, because no matter anything that I've read or anything that I've seen that just seems like crazy and extreme to me, no matter how badly I want to comment on it, I would just send it to a group chat. Y'all really got to reignite your group chats and stop being vitriolic and hateful towards random strangers on the internet. You don't know these people, and there is something very weird. I know this is how a lot of people operate on social media nowadays, but it is very weird to just slide in somebody's comments and leave drive-by hateful comments. It's weird. No, I really think this screen has distorted a lot of what people think is normal behavior, and it is not normal to leave drive-by hateful comments in someone's comment section, especially since they are things that 9 times out of 10 you would not say to that person's face. Like, why have we normalized this? It's very weird. Watching all this entire season and then seeing people's reactions to this season and the commentary, good, bad, ugly, neutral, in between, I think a lot of what is happening is this level of projection, because a lot of the time how we feel about other people has nothing to do with them and everything to do with us. How we view the world, our values, our morals, our principles, how we understand the world, how we feel about ourselves, all of that is a projection of what's going on in here. So when we are viewing these people, I feel like a lot of people are coming from this place of projection and projecting this expectation of perfection onto perfect strangers that they don't even exhibit in their own personal lives. You know, everybody's perfect on the internet. Everybody's perfect in the comment section. But if you were to actually get into the nitty gritty of these people's lives who are leaving these drive-by hateful and dismissive comments, you will see that they have their own skeletons in their closet, and not even skeletons in their closet, active elements of their daily life that are messy and imperfect. And would you want somebody to judge you off of that, or just having the half of the picture? No. And I think we also have to understand that while this is reality TV, it is also being scripted and edited to evoke a very specific emotion out of you. And when you are on certain social media platforms like TikTok that drives off of the rage cycle, rage baiting, negativity, what you engage with is what you will start to see. Now, I said at the beginning of my video, if you were a Black woman, you could stay for this conversation, but there may be elements you may not be able to relate to, because what I am speaking from is a racialized perspective, the racialized experience and perspective of a Black woman. And so speaking from that perspective, I think that there is absolutely a racialized element to the ways some people have been criticizing and talking about Ashley, Marissa, even Alexandra and Monica. And I think to distill it down a level, it is, we are having a lot of conversations online about decentering men. And I think that conversation is absolutely valid. And I say this as someone who is married. It is important to decenter men. For so long, we lived in this very patriarchal society where a woman's worth and her value was attached to her proximity towards a man. So if you were not married, you were less than, or you were looked down upon. Or if you weren't a mother, you are less than and you're looked down upon, and your womanhood is being questioned. We have moved away from that as a society, and we recognize that women are whole, actualized human beings who have value regardless of their attachment to the man, whether they're single, whether they have a boyfriend, whether they're married, whether they're a mom, whether they don't have any children. We are actualizing and we are taking up space as women now and walking in that truth. However, I think the pendulum has swung a little too far, because now we are at this movement where we are saying, yes, decenter men, but we are also very judgmental. Well, not we, some people are very judgmental and critical and negative towards women who seek partnership. You know, it is okay, and I'm here to say this. It is okay to want partnership. It is okay to want to date someone. It is okay to want to be married. Do I think that should be your single soul solitary pursuit in life? Absolutely not. But if you do want companionship, if you do want partnership, it is okay to seek that. And I think as Black women, we are kind of at this place where we are looking at Ashley and we are looking at Marissa, because we are seeing them being vulnerable and soft in a way that we often do not see Black women being depicted on the internet or just on reality TV in general, because we are always given this bad edit. But now we have this Black woman, Ashley, who looks like she is going to get her happily ever after, even if you do not agree with the person that she is marrying, juxtaposed to Marissa, who was also seeking her happily ever after, but who was, thank God, actually not left at the altar, which I feel like they had to have in certain seasons. It seems like we had a lot more people making it to the altar and getting it left. So I think they probably changed something now that makes it so you are able to break up before you get to the altar, so you are not being abandoned at the altar and dealing with that embarrassment. And I wonder if AD, like last season, AD and Clay's situation made the producers change that, because there was so much backlash about that. And if so, that's a good thing. It saves you a level of not only humiliation and embarrassment, but also everybody's time and money. And so, yeah, I think that is probably why we are seeing a lot more breakups before these people even make it down the aisle. Whereas in past seasons, I feel like we saw a lot more people getting left at the altar. Like, it was actually crazy. But anyways, so you have this woman, you know, people calling Ashley a pick-me because we view her as desperate to get married, but all Ashley said was, it is important for me to be married. I want marriage. I want kids. I want companionship. I want a husband. I want partnership. And people were poo-pooing all over her for that. And I'm here to tell you it's not wrong. You know, I think a lot of people judged Ashley very harshly because they felt like this is information that she had beforehand, but she has a contractual obligation and there are certain things that she cannot speak on. So when I'm sure we will hear from her down the line. I hope we will hear from her, but I also kind of hope we don't. I don't really think she owes anybody an explanation as to her happiness. She made a decision with the information she was given, and that's all she really could do. But people view that as, oh, how can she not know, or how can she be okay with this situation? The way it was presented to her, she decided that sperm donor situation, that was the truth of it. That's what was told to her. That is the information that she was given, and decided that she can marry to someone who has sperm donor children out there, and that is a choice she made. We are, like I said before, we are, I'm sure she is finding out some of this information in real time as we are. But there's no consideration to that before calling her a pick-me. But people are so quick to put her down and call her a pick-me, all because she expressed her desire and companionship for love and partnership. And it's almost like we are putting down women for wanting love, for wanting companionship, for wanting partnership. And I think that's also why, even though Ramses and Marissa didn't work out, the fact that she was devastated about that, she was devastated about the breakup of her engagement, people are like, girl, stand up. And it's just like, no, let her fall down. Maybe not in front of Ramses, because I was and still am really disturbed at the fact that she was like breaking down and just sobbing, and you could see and hear her heart breaking, and he had little to no emotions. And that's probably because he had already made up that decision, like Tim. He made up that decision before he even came to the conversation, because Alexandra said she was stunned, and then Tim like chucks the deuces like, and I never want to see you again. And Alexandra's sitting there, her plate of food getting cold, like, I didn't expect this. But Tim knew what he was going to do. Ramses knew what he was going to do. And so why would they have any emotion? But people are tearing her down for having a very human emotion, because she does want love. She wants partnership. She wants companionship. People just being so cold towards her and cruel towards her because of that breakdown. I think it really goes to show the impact that lack of connection, lack of relationships, this loneliness epidemic we're in, that it's taking a toll on our ability to relate to one another and practice basic empathy and understanding, because a lot of people have not experienced genuine love, genuine care, and the ability to be soft, to be vulnerable with another person. And I think this reaction from Black women is very palpable given the difficulties Black women have when it comes to dating. A lot of Black women express how difficult it is to date as a Black woman, especially as an educated Black woman, a Black woman living in certain cities, a dark-skinned Black woman based on your phenotype. We see all of these conversations coming up surrounding the difficulties of dating as a Black woman. And so I don't know if that has made some Black women a little hardened to when we see these expressions of vulnerability, or maybe it is because we don't have a lot of representation when it comes to Black women on these dating shows, especially getting good edits or good stories, getting good happily ever afters. Because I know I wasn't initially going to watch this season. And I was like, well, all the girls are cute, so let me hop in and watch. But I initially wasn't going to watch. And now I'm locked in and I'm sucked in. But it's almost like some Black women watch the show projecting onto the Black women that are there, and we are so worried about our image, and if one of them so much so steps a toe out of line, it becomes a reflection of all of us, because no matter how much we want to say we are not a monolith, there are groups of people who still view us all the same. And I think some of us view us as all the same. I think we're really sensitive to that representation online as well as on reality TV and in media. So it's almost reminds me growing up, my parents would always say, when you walk out of this house, you don't only represent you represent all of us, you represent your family. So when we are seeing Black women on TV or in media or on social media in very high positions, or even just any position of exposure, we recognize that these opportunities are very limited and we only have one shot to get it right. Do not miss your chance to, sorry. We only have one opportunity to get it right, because our image has been under attack for so many decades, that this is really the first time in society where we are in control of our own narrative. But that's only on a social media space. When it comes to reality TV and media, there are still producers behind our images. And so I think we're very heightened to the ways in which we are being represented, and we expect Black women to go on these shows and behave a certain way. And when they don't, or when these Black women don't, show up in a certain way, a lot of Black women think are acceptable. Their hair's a mess, or they present a certain way, or do something that makes them look bad, or what we think makes that person look bad. It all of a sudden becomes a reflection of all of us. And then we just attack. And I don't want to sit here and ignorantly say, oh, Indian women don't do this to each other. Latina women don't do this to each other. Asian women don't do this to each other. White women don't do this to each other. Because have y'all seen Reddit? Those white women are attacking each other left and right. So these conversations, these criticisms, this backlash, this scathing negativity, it is happening within other groups. Don't get it twisted. It's just, I'm speaking to what I'm seeing within my own community. And I'm just very shocked at the response that Marissa and Ashley were given, but particularly Marissa, for expressing any level of vulnerability and softness. When we say this is what we want, when we say we want our image to change, we don't want to be the ride or die, we don't want to be the strong Black woman, we want to be soft. A woman is being soft, and y'all are blaming her for what? And again, I recognize it is very likely because Ramses was dusty and a lot of people didn't like him and his 2 braids. I completely get that. But that has nothing to do with Marissa. Marissa's heart was breaking, and it was very disappointing to see the amount of negativity and vitriol her way from within our community. specifically from Black women. I saw this video of this woman, and it was from forever ago, so I wish I could remember her name so I can go grab it, but she was saying, I made an observation the other day, you know, when Black women, they're in healthy relationships, they're in loving partnerships, they'll show material aspects of their relationships, but they really won't show themselves in partnership with their partner. They're a lot more protective of their relationship, posting it on social media, as opposed to white girls that I've noticed. And again, I don't want to sit here and say white people, Latinas, Asians, Indians, whomever, they are not our litmus test or our peers or who we should be comparing ourselves against. That's not what I'm saying. I just thought her video was really, it really made me think, because I was like, you really don't see that. And even I myself don't put my relationship out there, but that's because my husband hates social media. So I won't be putting him out there in that capacity to respect his request. But you know, we really don't, we see a lot of Black women more protective of their relationships, especially online. My algorithm was algorithming that day, because shortly after that was a video of another Black woman who was like, I stopped posting relationship content, specifically my husband and the things he does for me, because I noticed that Black women were very negative towards me, or I would get some backhand comments or compliments like, oh, that's so nice, he does that for you. Wait until y'all have kids, or wait until he switches up, or wait until he finds somebody else, or wait until y'all, you know, all of this, like waiting for the other shoe to drop, almost like speaking negativity into her life because it was too good to be true, as if she wasn't deserving of that happiness, of that love within her partnership, you know. And it just really made me think, why don't we see a lot of Black women showing up with their relationships online, fully in love, in softness, in vulnerability? And I really don't know what the answer is to that, but if it is a reflection of how people were so critical towards Marissa, showing that softness, showing that sense, showing that vulnerability, while also being critical of Ashley and not even able to enjoy and celebrate her happiness, even though this is something she wanted, companionship, partnership, love. She got her happily ever after. It just didn't look like, again, everybody hates Tyler, so it wasn't with somebody they felt they could root for. So they're pulling her down as a result of that. You know, these two women in different situations got the same level of vitriol. So it's almost like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And it's even worse if you are a Black woman showing up in this capacity. I think it's a really sad state of affairs and a reflection of where we are as a society and how social media is eroding a lot of people's empathy muscle, heart muscle, that the only acceptable emotions that you can show on social media or that drive conversation, that drive clicks, views, shares, followers, etc., is anger, ennui, or just straight up disgust. Like, it seems like those are the only acceptable emotions to show, because for as much as, you know, some of us say we want Black women to be able to show up and be soft and be vulnerable, we saw that this season. And where are we at the end of it? Are we better for it? No. Is it something that we appreciated when it was shown? No. And it's sad because there are a lot of Ashleys judging Ashleys. There are a lot of Marissas judging Marissas. And I even hate to say Ashley's judging Ashley, because I really do not think, and this is why I really want to underscore this in my video, we are watching this in September and October of 2024. The information that she knew was from August to November of 2023. There are things that she is very likely, clearly finding out with us, and we're still judging her as if she had a crystal ball that she could read. You know, it's just really unfortunate that we finally, it seems, get the representation that we've been saying we've wanted for a very long time, and this is what people do with it. So drop down in the comments. Let me know if you think I am off base, if you agreed with anything, if you disagreed with anything. Do not forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace out.